Kurt, I'd like to know where in the world you learned to fly like that. Your skills are just blowing my mind.
You know, there was that magic 5 minutes on the simulator is all it took. Because all the hours spent on it, it says that 5 minute, something happened, it just clicked.
You know what? It's all a bunch of this. Because the last time you were at my house, now this was some years back, you had a rather large helicopter, a couple of them, I believe.
Yeah.
And pretty sure one of them landed on its side.
You're dragging everybody on the journey with us. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, let's avoid arguments.
I did too. I flopped over on its side.
Yeah.
I think I blamed it on the gyro, didn't I?
You blamed it on something, my grass or
my
something.
Thumb.
There you go. Well, let's just jump right
into the point.
into the 5x5. Model characteristics, build as advertised. You gave it a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, it was built. All I had to do is bind it, do some quick setup on our DX8, and it was ready to go. So,
all right.
Yeah, really nothing to adjust, nothing to tune or tweak or anything.
Finish 4 out of 5.
Yeah, it's a lot of plastic parts in it, and you'll see 450 class helicopters that have a lot of carbon fiber, mainframe stuff like that. It's attractive overall. It has a good looking canopy on it. It is exactly what it is. It's a good looking helicopter, but in its class, there's some fancier ones out there, but I'd rather have performance over some fancy. Well, that raises the cost up too. You start adding chrome and anodized aluminum and carbon fiber where it's really not necessary, and your cost starts edging up and edging up. So,
and really, what these boil down to is pure flat-out performance.
These are pilot machines. I mean, the fact that it's a bind and fly as it is, there's no assembly for it, so you don't have to be mechanically inclined to be able to do this. And if you want to be a helicopter pilot, this is what you're going to go for. It's like, I don't want to sit and put 2,000 little pieces together. I just want to learn to fly or increase my skills, not learn. This is not a learning platform.
No.
I want to increase my skills as a helicopter pilot, and that's what this is really aimed at. So,
if you want flash, spend another $500.
Exactly. Yeah. Or you can do. There's a ton of hop-up parts.
Not that this isn't a good-looking helicopter.
I'm sure you could add some bling on it if you wanted to, with a bunch of
actually, and not to drag this on, but this, in my opinion, is probably one of the sharpest blades you've come out with.
Yeah, I like the design approach you're doing with the ghosted.
When I saw it for the first time, I thought, that is.
Yep.
Most blades always seem to have a high stance to them through the years.
Yeah.
If you notice, and this one.
It's a performance machine. Everything's squatted closer together. It's a lower center of gravity. It's
sharp-looking helicopter.
Built for.
And I'm not a helicopter guy.
There you go.
Well, let's get into power. 5 out of 5.
Yeah, they definitely have plenty of strength on the Powerplant side. In fact, as you go through the maneuvers with it and idle up, and you really start taxing that main rotor, hitting a heavy pitch, that's where you're going to hear the motor start sagging.
Yeah.
And we had good performance. And really, it goes back to the battery that's included with it is a 30C discharge battery. You team that up with the brushless motor that they have in there, and it does a great job of maintaining head speed. And that's really what you want. You don't want to have it sagging out on you. So it does a great job for the size, the weight, and the construct of the helicopter to keep things moving well. So
good. Ground handling, 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, it's funny. We're still in our conventional scoring class because this is a 450, and we've agreed that 550 and larger helicopters get a little different categories because the concerns or the interest from the hobbyist perspective change a little bit. You can start swapping out all the different guts and components, pick your own flybarless, a gyro, and pick your motor and pick your servos and pick everything, and you're building it to fly the way you want it to fly.
Yeah.
So you can really start getting it down to where it's a very slight variation and you're looking at just the chassis, just the build proper. So 550 and up is a different scoring. This still falls inside of the hobbyist graduating through helicopter flight and moving into their first, hardcore 3D machine. So, it still has that ground handling. What is it like on the ground? What can you expect? It's a very reactive setup, very reactive helicopter in terms of its performance. So it's going to feel probably to a newer 3D pilot or somebody trying to break that into that space, it's going to feel like it's really, really moving fast for you. It's reacting extremely strong. But you throw it in normal and you have the benefit of the flybarless gyro to calm things down. And it does a great job of leveling out that flight. And when you get in there and you set it down, it's not feeling like it's all over the place on you. So it's, helicopter ground handling is really what is it like when you get your own ground effect in your own rotor wash. Is it dancing all over the place? And it does a good job of settling itself down, so it scored well.
Durability, 4 out of 5.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of plastic parts, where in some aircraft you see more carbon fiber. The cost goes up, the strength goes up, but this is a good compromise between, if it was the old rule, if it doesn't bend, it breaks.
Yeah.
So you're going to have the advantage of pretty flexible skids that are going to take, somebody getting in and kind of slamming it down, or bringing it in kind of hot and heavy. Your verticals are very flexible, along with your horizontals are very flexible. So that durability factor is pretty strong. With it having more of the bend than break, setup. Now that, in certain areas, if you have more bend and break, you're compromising control or response.
Yeah.
You don't quite have that crispness you're looking for as you start advancing through your aerobatic maneuvers. But they do a good job of compromising and balancing out strength, cost, and rigidity and performance to where everywhere it's needed and it's critical, it's there. So, but it's going to be a little more durable than probably a lot of the other 450s you see out there.
Yeah.
As you take them in, they're not going to bounce quite as well as this will, with a little higher concentration of plastic parts on it. So,
good. Pilot experience. We'll start out with flight as advertised. Now, Kurt, I want to ask you a question before you even get into the assessment of the flight and everything. Your thought. You see the industry making a big push towards fly barless. It seems like it's becoming more prevalent in competitions and everything. I'm not a heli guy, you know that. I don't fly helis. My knowledge is very limited on them. If there's other people out there, not that there is, in my situation, or in sitting there looking, wondering, kind of give us an idea of what the big push is toward fly barless versus the traditional fly bar that you've seen.
Sure. There's, with fly barless, you're abandoning a fly bar, which what the fly bar does is it's actually connected directly to the blade grips, and it's the link to the pitch control of the blades themselves, is the fly bar. So as it spins around, you're essentially flying the fly bar, and it's telling what the blades need to do.
Okay.
So it creates a level of disconnectedness, but then what it also did, which isn't a bad thing, because what it also did is allowed us to fly helicopters when traditionally we couldn't, meaning the electronics weren't there to handle like a fly barless configuration. And if you recall, you used to be able to get like the 5-blade or 4-blade setups, and those were fly barless, and these big fly barless controllers on them, and it was just like this, okay, I'm doing scale, but fly barless is like out there. What we've seen that do is come in now with much more advanced electronics. It's moving into the much less expensive bracket, and it also completely permeated the pro level, the competition level.
Okay.
And the reason that's such a big thing, you think, well, great, there's a little less linkage, and you've got that direct connection to the swash plate to the blades. What it allows you to do without that fly bar, without that spinning or rotating mass, is it allows you to achieve faster forward speed, because you don't have that potential of washout. You're going to hit the point where that fly bar is getting so much oncoming air that it's wanting to do its own thing. As it comes around on its pass, it's wanting to wash out essentially, and that's going to, of course, affect the blade pitch. So you've got faster forward speeds, you have more crisp response, you have less linkage on the head, you also have greater pitch deflection that's possible off of a fly barless versus a fly bar. Since you reduce the linkage down now, you can take advantage of that full travel of the swash plate. So you've got guys in pro comp that are running 14-degree pitch, which on a fly barless machine is, that was impossible. It was beyond reach. They were looking at 10, pushing at 11. Maybe even some guys got 12 out there. I'm sure somebody can correct me, but you were more around the plus 10, minus 10 pitch on your idle up configuration. And I remember my previous fly bar based helicopters were plus 10, minus 10, maybe plus 10.5 or 11. With fly barless, you get a lot more pitch control. So of course, as the guys get into 3D maneuvers, pitch is king. You want to be able to just snap out of those maneuvers and stop the inertia and reverse direction. So more speed, better. Now what it also did too is brought in a benefit of more stability too. With the fly barless controllers, the 450X comes with Beast-X, a triple axis fly barless controller gyro inside the receiver, and Beast-X, and going into the flight as advertised, I guess we'll just roll into that off of that lead in. You talk to the other guys in the field and the pro pilots, and what they're shooting for is a connectedness to that fly barless control. They want to feel as connected to the machine as possible.
Sure.
Fly barless introduces that with that direct linkage, but it all comes down to the controller. And if you've got a controller that needs a lot of configuration and it just doesn't quite get you there, you feel a little bit disconnected from the aircraft. To them, what I consider my flight envelope or my performance envelope is about this big. When they're getting in competition, it's just a very narrow band. I mean, their reaction times are so fast, and they can tell you exactly when it's not responding exactly like they want it to, which to the layperson watching or the weekend helicopter flyer, you're thinking, oh, that looked pretty amazing. It was sloppy. Well, to them, they're looking at such finite detail. that fly barless controller becomes the most critical piece on this helicopter now. So before you had a headlock gyro and everything else was mechanical, and it was come down to your servos and your radio mixing and everything else. That fly barless controller is the key, and the BeastX, my experience with the 450X with the BeastX fly barless gyro in there was, I felt very connected to it as well. And it really depends. I mean, it goes from manufacturer to manufacturer. There's about 3 of them that lead the charge out there when it comes to competition fly barless controllers. And I was extremely impressed with, out of the box, with default setups, how locked into the aircraft they felt the whole time. Yeah. So that kind of wraps up your fly barless question of how the whole thing goes together. But there's a ton of more information about it out there, of course, but the gist of it is you've got just a lot more you can do with the aircraft. Yeah. And the aircraft's a lot more capable now that we're going fly barless. You know, I did test flying with it. We had Jared Granzow, who's actually a Horizon-sponsored pilot as well. By coincidence, he happens to live close by, so Jared was fortunate enough to go out and bang some sticks on not just this, but a few other aircraft for me, and help me do some tweaking and tuning. And you know, what you saw in the video was Jared wringing this thing out. And
oh, is that who that is?
I have to come clean. Jeez. All hands above the table. Yeah, it was Jared really wringing this out heavy, and the reason we wanted to show Jared doing this was because in this class and with this helicopter, it's not a matter of, you know, does it hover well, you know, does it do basic 3D maneuvers, can you do inverts and loops and rolls?
No, this thing's made for stick banging and does it do it?
Yeah, it's made for just serious 3D, and this is by all means a hardcore 3D machine, and you can see that. And the thing is that, you know, we always say first flights we show. That was Jared's first flight with this helicopter. That wasn't, you know,
with our model.
With ours.
Yeah.
And if he flew a 450X in the past, I know he doesn't own one. So, you know, that was him getting a hold of it and grabbing our DX8 and out of the box, my settings, my mixing that came from the, you know, for settings from the manual, and he started flying. He just went at it, and he was inside of his routine, inside of his comfort zone very quickly with it. And I think it's the interesting thing to me too is, Jared, when you go through and really just wring something out, a platform at this price level, with this construction type, a lot of plastic, maybe not a whole lot of carbon fiber, what kind of longevity can you really expect when you're putting it through that? Is this something where, after about 10 of those routines, you're going to want to maybe look at replacing? He said, no, you can do it for a long time. He said, a lot of guys in the field are flying the 450Xs. We asked around, whenever we review a model, we try to talk to people as much as we can. We have a couple local hobby shops we talk to. We find out which replacement parts they're using the most of and stuff. And all reports have come back that the 450X has an extremely high level of resilience to hardcore 3D piloting. So it scored extremely well. In fact, by far, hands down, the best 450 out of the box, fully assembled helicopter I've ever laid hands on. It was just amazing. So it did well. Did you ever get a score?
Yeah, I did.
5 out of 5. Okay.
You've been talking a lot about this.
This is a hot topic. There's a lot of people interested in this class of helicopter at this price point, and you don't want to lead them wrong. You want to make sure the endorsements you give are accurate. And I tell you, this is a fantastic platform. It was impressed across the board. So
good.
Moving on.
Can we?
I rambled enough. Yes.
That's quite all right. Flight time. I gave a couple of eyebrow.
This is like listening to scrapbooking or something, isn't it? Because you're just not connected, and you're like, oh, Kurt's scrapbooking.
Yeah, exactly.
You done talking about scrapbooking?
I've been ad-libbing non-verbally at the camera, so people will get it.
I'll see it later.
You will. Flight time, 4.5 out of 5.
Within within this class of helicopter, again, you can expect, depending on what you're doing. If you're in normal mode and you're just kind of loitering around and you're getting your orientations and you're doing just general progression type moves into this platform, you're getting a little longer run times because you're just not, you don't have it in idle up, and you're not turning as many RPMs, and you're not getting into the power plant as much. As soon as you go into idle up and you start doing stunts with it, you can expect, you can just do the raw calculations. And then it also goes back to the motor. This has a very strong motor set up on it. The stronger the motor, the shorter the run times generally, because it can just keep it, that ability to maintain RPMs is there, which means when it's getting a heavy load on it, it's just chewing through the amperage. So 5 minutes, 6-ish minutes, on a 3D flight with really hardcore nonstop maneuvers, you may find yourself cutting that at the 5-minute mark, but it's well within this class and what you can expect based on how you're flying the aircraft. So
I bet you I can get a lot less flight times out of it.
I bet you can. I've gotten less out of them too. Had nothing to do with the battery either.
Field size, flying field.
Yeah, this is a flying field. Don't fly these at a park.
No.
Just because it's fully assembled doesn't mean it's park friendly. I mean, this has the ability to
don't let the size fool you either.
Yep. Yeah, no, this is a very powerful aircraft, so you definitely want to be at a flying field. Go to a helicopter flying field or a airfield that allows helicopters. You know, be responsible. There's a lot of fixed wing fields out there that they're not really set up for, you know, rotary aircraft, or and just be responsible. They make a lot of noise and they can do a lot of damage, and they kind of make people nervous sometimes depending on who's on the sticks. But and even when I'm standing close to the pros, I get you know, you're just like, oh man,
how can you not?
Hope nothing breaks every time it comes around at you. So yeah, be responsible. This is a flying field, and this is a classic. This is a class you want to get into where you're getting your AMA insurance, and that way if anything bad does happen, you're covered. So
exactly, for guys like me.
Yeah. So, well, you don't have to worry about it because it's going to be about 3 feet, and then it's just going to be pieces.
I'll never get it near anybody close. Never get that far. All right, portability, 5 out of 5.
Yeah, they include the blade holder along with it, and these are tough little things. You snap the blades back, pop them in their holder, and grab it by the tail boom and set it up in the front seat beside you. It's small enough, it's compact enough that it's very, very portable and easy to carry around.
Skill level. Advanced.
This is advanced, and people, it's tough because as people migrate through or progress through their skills with helicopters, they may start off coaxial and they move maybe to a fixed pitch or something like that. At some point, they're going to have to make the jump to a collective pitch helicopter, and they can either do that in a micro size, or they do it in the 450 class or larger. There's some other options out there that kind of help people get into this style of airframe and these capabilities, or this type of aircraft and these capabilities. Like in fact, the Blade has the 130X and stuff. So there's some progression steps. But when you get to the 450X, don't be fooled. It's very responsive. It's very quick. It's very crisp. But to the untrained hands, that just means it feels like it's ready to just bust loose on you all the time. Because it's so capable. So you're definitely looking at advanced capabilities, and they state as such actually on the product page. And I couldn't agree more. This is an advanced helicopter by all means. So, well, that wraps up our review of the Blade 450X. You want to see the full review, you can go to our website at tubefly.com. For mobile users, you can go to rcflightsource.com, download the mobile app, and take all of our content on the go. I'm Kurt with Two Brothers Hobby.
And I'm Rob. Thanks for watching.